President of El Salvador is willing to take in Americans in prisons. Bet it's worth his while, huh? What's the bottom line? Trump says he'd love it if the US could send Americans to prison in El Salvador. Watch.
Back to El Salvador, the president there said he would be willing to take American citizens in the federal prison population. Is that one of the ideas you're going to be discussing?
Well, I love that. If we could take some of our 20-time wise guys that push people into subways and that hit people over the back of the head and that purposely run people over in cars, if he would take them, I'd be honored to give them. I don't know what the law says on that, but I can't imagine the law would say anything different.
Imagine if we could put a former leader, we had done the work and not been cowards who grabbed him and took documents and caused this big, well, it was bigger than a brouhaha, right? People lost their lives on January 6th. It was just hideous. It was hideous. Maybe that person could have been sent to an El Salvador prison. Update regarding the Maryland man with protected legal status who was sent to the notorious prison in El Salvador following an administrative error. It sounds so ignorant every time we say that, administrative error. Justice Department has placed on indefinite paid leave the attorney who argued on behalf of the government on Friday in a lawsuit brought by Abrego Garcia's attorneys. Let's give you a reminder, shall we, of what happened here. There he is. Shouldn't be there in El Salvador. Maryland man with protected legal status was sent to the notorious prison in El Salvador following an administrative error. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement official admitted in a sworn declaration on Monday. Kilmer Armando Abrego Garcia, who has a U.S. citizen wife, 5-year-old child, currently at CICOT, the notorious prison in El Salvador. Filing is part of a new lawsuit filed by Abrego Garcia's attorneys who are requesting that the government of El Salvador return him to the US after being sent there because of an administrative error. ABC filling in some of the background. Abrego Garcia's attorney said that he is not a member of or has no affiliation with Tren de Aragua, MS-13, or any other criminal or street gang, and said the US government has never produced an iota of evidence to support this unfounded accusation. Sources said Erez Ruveni, the acting deputy director for the Office of Immigration Litigation, was told by officials at the DOJ that he was being placed on leave over a, quote, failure to zealously advocate for the government interests. Justice Department has also placed the deputy director of the Office of Immigration Litigation on paid administrative leave. Sources familiar with the matter told ABC News August Flente, who was Ruveni's supervisor, was placed on administrative leave Saturday by officials at Maine Justice for, quote, failure to supervise a subordinate, according to sources. Government is seeking to appeal an order from the judge who presided over Friday's hearing and ordered the department to facilitate the return of Kilmer Armando Abrego Garcia by Monday, 11:59 p.m. So now the Trump administration has asked SCOTUS, maybe we can get Clarence Thomas off that Winnebago, to block the return of wrongly deported Maryland man. Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court for emergency intervention in the case of a Maryland man the government, by its own admission, removed to El Salvador by mistake, and now must return, as we said, by 11:59 p.m. Monday under a federal court order. Solicitor General D. John Sauer argued in the filing that a federal court cannot order a president to engage in foreign diplomacy, which he says is implicitly involved in any potential return of Kilmer Armando Abrego Garcia, who the Trump administration alleges is a gang member. Or Circuit Court of Appeals rejected the Trump administration's emergency motion to block the order to return Garcia to the US after he was sent to a prison in El Salvador despite having protected legal status. Well, in a unanimous decision, the panel of 3 judges agreed the order requiring the government to facilitate and effectuate the return of Garcia by the United States by no later than 11:59 p.m. on Monday, April 7, 2025 should not be stayed. You better get him back here. Now, what will Clarence Thomas and friends say? whatever Trump wants, perhaps. Tehran, what say you about all of this? It just seems so pathetic that the government is going to the highest court in the land, not arguing on behalf of a citizen, arguing that, well, a legal protected status person, arguing that, yeah, we screwed up, but just leave it alone, will you?
So what I say is, if I worked at a job and made such an administrative blunder, I would probably be fired. That's what would happen if I did such a thing. People get fired at Starbucks for messing up the coffee order. This person had someone deported that should never have been deported. Mr. Garcia is a legal resident of the United States. They told us that they were going after illegal immigrants, and now we see them consistently going after legal immigrants, legal residents, and even private citizens, as in the case in Northern Virginia. So this is consistently a lot of administrative blunders, and it seems that these blunders only affect one specific group of people. I've never seen Mr. John Johnson get deported back to Ireland accidentally. That's not what's happening. Jan Svensson is not getting deported accidentally back to Sweden. It seems to be a targeted, prejudiced attack on one specific group of people. And the longer we bury our heads in the sands, the longer we will have this problem continuously affect us. And in regards to President Bukele of El Salvador, this is a person who's actually the opposite pendulum swing of President Trump. So President Trump often talks about only working with like-minded people and actually going out of his way to fire people who disagree with him or aren't loyalists. Well, in this case, this is a person who has very little in common when it comes to, in theory, when it comes to principles with President Trump. He's described himself as the radical left, has revolutionary ideas, socialist views, things of this nature, been a big supporter of the LGBTQIA community in El Salvador itself, made Bitcoin their legal currency in 2019. And yet when it came to prisoners, America was willing to do business once again with someone that they had called a dictator just a couple years ago because they felt like it was in the best interest of America. This is where the Constitution goes awry. This is where we see the breakdown of civil society, we see the breakdown of democracy, and ultimately we see the breakdown of the United States of America.
Yeah. America already had tons of issues unresolved. That said, I don't know what we can rely on by design. Now, what can we rely on? The courts, Congress, the executive branch. There's nothing to rely on. There's one guy who, depending on the mood he wakes up in, if the Taco Bell he's eaten the night before has caused too much flatulence, depends. He'll decide day in and day out what he wants to do and what he wants to do to whom, right? If he likes you, if you apologize, if you kiss the ring, if you don't argue zealously enough. I mean, what did they expect that assistant prosecutor to do, Tehran? He didn't have the facts and he didn't have the information that the judge said, I want on my desk today. So he said, I tried. I mean, other than get up there in one of those court gesture, who were the people who entertained kings and queens over the years to distract folks? Dress up like that, right? With the shoes that have the little curved ends on them, the little toe part. That, other than that, what more could he do? You know, I'll give you the last word on this one.
Well, ultimately, El Salvador, of course, has a financial incentive to do this. They want the money from the prisoners in their prison sentence and their prison system, which clearly doesn't treat their prisoners the best. That's where we want to send American citizens to. That's where we're looking. Here's why it's a problem. It's a problem because who will it happen to? It will happen to the people closest to you. It always seems so far away until it's not. And that's what we're seeing happen right now. President Trump has consistently shown us that he has a disregard for the Constitution, legalities, procedures, and even precedents of the United States. The only thing saving us are a few rogue judges across the country who are brave enough to speak up and speak out and defend the Constitution. Nothing more, nothing less. That is what the judicial branch has been designed to do. And we're also seeing that those judges are being put down because they are insisted to not be loyalists. Loyal to who, President Trump? Loyal to you? Because the truth is, every civil servant should be loyal to the citizens of the United States and to the United States of America itself.
Yeah. Excellent analysis. And there are some bootlickers in Congress right now who are threatening to bring those rogue, you're right, the rogue federal judges who are just interested in the Constitution, liberal, conservative, whatever, it doesn't matter who appointed them, they're standing up. There are some bootlickers in Congress who are trying to make sure that they get them out of there and bring in ones who will capitulate.